us was, condoms and things of that nature. And, as a teenager, we was like, yeah, we get free condoms. But that's how they got us to think about our communities. And in there, we were helping homeless people. We were helping people with food, after school program, et cetera, et cetera. So I've always been in the community for many years, and I love serving the community. That's just in my blood. I can never stop doing that. I moved out to California almost 2 decades now. I've been here serving. I helped build a clinic. I helped build homeless shelters. I helped build communities for many years in this region, specifically in San Bernardino. And I learned a lot about economic development and community development, right? A lot of times when we have an establishment, what we look at is the people in our church, but holistically, when you look at establishment, you look at the entire neighborhood, the entire community, because that's part of the ecosystem. So what do I mean by that? So many years ago, I got recruited by an agency, and they said, hey, Alex, you do a great job with grassroots organizing, community organizing. But you know what we need the most is economic development. We need economic advocates. Can you take the same energy that you do in a community and bring it into economics? I've never even heard of this terminology before ever in my life. So at the time, this is during, before COVID, this conversation about where are we going as a society? How are we going to sustain our communities? How are we going to grow our communities became a conversation. And what I found out that a lot of times our communities struggle because of finances, right? So how do we get people connected to finance? So I'll tell you a true story. So I got hired by this agency, right, to help with economic development. I've never done it in my life at that time. And I was like, I'm gonna wing it. I'm going to figure this out. So when I got hired by this organization, I lost them in 2 months, $750,000. Youth Action Project. Never going to forget it. And they looked at me like, whew. I looked at them like, whew. So we're looking at each other, whew. However, there was a transition, right? And there was things coming into the region. I said, hey, look, I know I lost y'all 750, but give me a few months to figure it out, and we'll forget about the 750, right? So there was the Irvine Foundation, which is one of the biggest philanthropy companies in the United States, but specifically in California. They give out billions of dollars in money, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars throughout the year. So they were trying to experiment to figure out how to bring economic growth into our region. So there was a representative with the foundation, ICF, Michelle Decker, shout out to her. And she comes in and she's like, yeah, we got this new platform and we want to work with community organizations to whatever, right? So she's talking to me. I'm thinking, man, I just lost this agency, 750. I need to learn how to do economic development, and I'm going to use her, work with her to figure out if she could pay for my learning lesson in terms of economic development. So she's talking about all these marvelous things, and I said, look, I'm going to be honest. I don't know nothing about economic development. I just lost this agency, 750. I know all about community organizing. I got a history of building all kind of things in terms of things for the community, but economic development is not even mine. I was like, you know what we need to empower our communities? You should pay us to learn economic development. She said, what? I said, yeah. Our communities lack economic developers, right? And a lot of them don't look like us. They don't even come from my neighborhoods. She looked at me, she was like, huh. I said, yeah, if you want us to have one leg up, we need to learn economic development. All right. I got $300,000, and she paid the $300,000 for us to learn economic development. And in there, I learned how to build the entire city literally in a few months. So yeah, $300,000, and then a few months later, I got the org's $7 million throughout the course. So look, what I'm saying is 750, 7 million, right? Now, again, you can't even pay for this stuff. You can't go to school for it. You have to be in the trenches and learn how it works. So why do I bring it up? Because then At that time, I'm learning about not just economic development, but why is it that our organizations are not part of these conversations? There's billions of dollars that are literally in front of us, and we can't see it. And that always fascinated me. Why is it that when we walk in a neighborhood, we don't look around and see who owns these neighborhoods? Who owns, right, the washer, who owns the card, who owns the gross? I can go down the list, right? How does this freeway get built? How does this hospital get built? Who is involved in this kind of in negotiating these warehouses, these big industries to come in? How does that work, right? And one of the things is I did go to University of Iowa, shout out to Iowa. And living in Iowa, one of the things I also learned is the circulation of a dollar, right? And one of the things about the circulation of the dollar, and I learned this really quick when I lived in Iowa, and I went to school at the University of Iowa, was this thing of the hang out with the Amish people. So I go hang out with the Amish. When you go into the Amish community, when you spend $1 in that community, that dollar stays there for 4 or 5 days. That same dollar does not leave for 4 or 5 days in that community. You know why? Because they own their own banks. They own their own production in terms of food sources. They built their own homes. They own their own schools. So that dollar literally stays in that community for 4 or 5 days. I started asking, hey, you know what? In our black and brown communities, how long does $1 stay in our neighborhoods? So I kept digging. And then the numbers came up, and I found the numbers eventually. And you know how long, if we were to spend $1 in our neighborhoods, how long it stays in our community? He said 30 minutes. He said an hour. The cool thing about the day, a day. The cool thing about learning about this data, when you see the numbers, not only do they show you how long it stays there, they show you why it circulates and where it goes, right? So at that time, it was 6 minutes. And the reason it was 6 minutes, because that's how long it took us to cash our checks at some cash checking place to go spend the money and right out of our communities. I was like, wow, 6 minutes. So when I look around and I look at everything from what we wear to what we drink, right, to what we drive, the question comes back, how do we become part of that ecosystem, right? I got recruited to work with the governor's office. I'm an official. Yes, I've been a government agent for a few years, officially, right? With the governor's office, Newsom, GoBiz. If you don't know what that is, GoBiz is the economic branch of the state of California, right? This is where folks go to propose in terms of projects, a big development, you name it. That's where I worked at, right? And I learned a lot. And the thing is, when you get hired to work with GoBiz and economic development, they show you where all the money is at. Federal, state. In fact, on a day-to-day basis, you have an account, and they tell you, here's 50,000, here's 2 million, here's 25 million, here's 300 million, here's 500. You see all the dollars circulating. And my job was to figure out how to bring at least a piece of that into our region, which is the IE region, right? San Bernardino Riverside. And one of the things I always found fascinating is, and I'm gonna just be factual, when it came to communities of color, especially black communities, it was hard to try to educate them about, look, if you put this and you do this, you qualify for that. Because one of the things that happens is the infighting. Everybody wants to be the manager of the money. But it's really chump money. It's not even a lot of money. It's chump change. $15 million is not a lot of money. It's a starter, right? And I learned that, and I think I could share some of this, right? I learned that certain cities didn't have an understanding of economic development, right? So let me give you an example. I'm going to make a fake city because this actually happened, so I got to be careful. So I'm going to make a fake city. This is a real story, true story. So I represented literally San Bernardino Riverside. I told this city, we was in the meetings. They eventually kicked me out the meetings, which was crazy. Shout out to Facebook. All right. So I told the city, look, when I look at your city, because I'm a data analyst as well, your city operates off of this prison. So your city's main economic workforce is the prison. Then you have the college and the school district, right? So let me explain quickly how economic development works, just really quick if I can. So I told the city, I said, you need to figure out something new because they're going to start closing the prisons. They said, they'll never close the prisons. I said, yes, they're going to close the prisons. So let me call this city Carpet Town, because I just looked at the carpet. So we're going to call it Carpet Town. Carpet Town was like, they'll never close the prisons. We've had this prison here for so many. I said, no, it's happening. I work with the government. I'm in the office. I saw the new, like, right? So this is 2 years before. Like, I'm advancing them, like, hey. So there was a conversation. They was like, well, what do you want us to do? Then I said, I don't want you to do anything but to be inventive, be innovative, right? I said, this is not what I'm telling you to do. Just as a suggestion, you could build a big boot, the biggest boot in the middle of your downtown area. And it was like, why would we do that? Because there's people crazy enough to travel to take pictures. And there's people crazy enough to travel from all places, not just to take pictures, but then they get hungry. So you built the restaurant. There's people crazy enough not just to take pictures, but they get hungry and they get sleepy. So you built the hotel. There's people, I can go down the list of economic development, how you built the city. You built an attraction, right? Easily. And that's how you built a circulation of money, of a dollar. Now, me sharing this with the city, they thought I was crazy. A year and a half later, they kicked me out of those meetings, and they lost the prisons. And now the government is asking me, what do you think is going to be the impact when the prison leaves, Alex? So I'm a data analyst. I got to report this. I said, well, let me tell you what's going to happen with this city. When that prison leaves, I know for a fact 50% of the students that go to that college come from that prison. So they're going to have a low enrollment in that community college. I know for a fact that bank that's right across the street from that college is going to suffer because people who are getting loans for their homes and buying cars come from either that prison or come from the college. I know for a fact that restaurant that depends on that prison and that college being open is going to shut down. I know for a fact that I went down the list. This city is going to go under, and it's going to take maybe 15 years to rebuild because of lack of vision. I believe, this is just me, if you have space and creativity, you can make all type of possibilities happen. Let me give you, while we're here in this space, where I went to go take a tour at in LA, the Dutch community. The Dutch community had bought this whole neighborhood, right? They're giving me a tour. Let me tell you, the way the tour started and the way it ended was two different things. You would think the church, the pastor, would take me to his church first. He took me to a car wash. So why are we going to a car wash? This is where we start the tour, the car wash. He said, yeah, this car wash, we had this car wash for about so many years. I said, all right, I'm not impressed. I'm like, I don't understand what this, right? So he's bragging about this car wash, just going. I'm like, why are we at this car wash? Like, I don't care about this car wash. Then we go a few blocks down, and we're in the middle of the street, literally in the middle of the street. He goes, yeah, we bought all these 10 homes here, and we bought all these other 10 homes here. I'm like, how you buy the car wash? And then we expanded the church. Then we bought another car wash. Then we built the school. Then we bought another car wash. I'm like, what is going on with this car wash? What's the deal with the car wash? So then, this is the tour he gives me. But you know what's funny about that? He never really gave me the details about that car wash. I get hired with the governor's office. I got to take a tour of a car wash. I'm like, here we go with these car washes. So I go to this car wash, right? The new ones, with the technology and all that. You just drive right through and it's, right? So I'm in there. I'm saying, okay, this guy's talking to me, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm not interested. I'm annoyed that I have to do this tour. But anyway, they're asking for $3 million, right? Support to do this innovative, whatever. So I'm in this car wash. I'm half asleep, to be honest with you. I'm ready to get out. I'm hungry. I'm ready to get out of there. So the guy goes, yeah, we got like about approximately 7, 8 employees total, right? That's whatever. He said, yeah, the water recycles itself, whatever. I don't care. When it struck, he goes, yeah, our membership is at $20,000. 20,000 members. I said, wait, what? 20,000 what? He said, yeah, we got 20,000 membership at average of $24. I said, I got to use the bathroom. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. I went to the bathroom, pulled out my phone, pulled out the calculator. I said, wait a minute. 24,000 people a month? Not a year, a month. So I went to my calculator. I'm doing it right here live. And I went $24 on average. That's what he says. And I put 20,000. $480? Wait. $480,000 a month? Nah, I got the numbers wrong. So I come out the bathroom. I said, can you repeat your membership again? Because I'm confused. Can you just repeat that? He said, yeah, our membership is at $20,000 a month. And that's give or take, because it's usually higher, depending on the season. I saw him in February. And it's higher in the summers and the springtimes. So I'm sitting there, he's borrowing $3 million, and he's going to pay it back in less 6 months. I said, we need a car wash, the car washing business. So now he helped me understand the future of economics is in membership. A service that people are going to want regardless of what you got going on. George just showed me the space over here you got in this lot. I'm looking like, oh, y'all got the lotto. Y'all got a golden ticket sitting right there in the lot. Because there ain't no competition. Now, I did drive from Oakland, and let me just be honest with you. I had different clothes on. I had to go to the store, TJ Maxx, to go buy some clothes so I could, because, a 6-hour drive, So why would I bring that up? When you drive, you see, oh, man, this is prime real estate. The freeway's right there. You got all these plazas and stores. How you get this spot? So when I'm driving, I'm like, this is this close to the establishment? Whew, they got a ticket. I'm driving in, like, oh, and they got real estate? And they got an empty lot? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So why am I saying this? You can do whatever you want in terms of using your imagination. You can build you an establishment that will not just feed your community, but it will grow your community. And that's just one example. I got hundreds of them, right? But I know for a fact of just a regular old car wash, the ones that are coming out now, you put that in there, come on now. Even if you have 5,000 membership a month, even if it was 10,000 membership a month. When I drove around here for 15 minutes, I'm like, man, you can't get your car washed nowhere. Where is the nearest car wash? He says back over. I don't even know what that is. That sounds far. So it sounds really far. But the freeway, 30 seconds from here. 30 seconds from the freeway. You got 2 major plazas in less than 2 square miles. less than 2 square miles. You got a school. I can go down the list. Come on now. Come on now. So why do I bring that up? There's multiple ways to do this. I started a grant writing firm. I also got another firm coming up that's going to be consulting with the feds next year. And the reason why I do this is because I love showing people how to do economic development, how to grow your communities. The future of our industries or our communities, for it to survive, has to be in what is called a social enterprise. That means you could definitely serve people in the community, right? But you don't have to be broke to do that. And you don't have to charge them a single cent. You just have to build an entity that could sustain the church, to change the members, help the members. Because in the Dutch community, when we stood in front of that street, and he said we bought all these homes, you know who he housed? His members, at no cost. And you know why? Because they went to college. See, those members were going, living in that space, going to school, getting licensed to become what? Lawyers. Those members were living in those homes, going to school to become what? Doctors. Those members were going to school, living in those homes, rent-free, so they can do what? Police officers, judges. That's how that Dutch community built that. Oh, man, I can go on for, man, that car wash was more than a car wash. And again, if I've never been exposed to that, or even my mind frame to change the way I think about when I drive these neighborhoods, I could never see it. And I couldn't see it if anyone was in front of me. It took years later to understand economic development, social enterprise. There's churches right now throughout the communities and in the United States. There's one that's doing recycling mattress. He said, why you recycle mattress? You know what the mattress has? Recyclable metal, wood. I could go down the list. That church is making $600,000 a year just on mattresses alone. You know how many people throw away their mattresses? I can do this all day and tell you how you just can, right? We can go all day do this. I got another one that does, it'll be hard to do here, but recycling. He has a recycling center. Oh my God. When I seen this man, he was in prison for many years. He gave us a whole tour, and he walks like this, you know. And he's all buff. You could tell he did some hard time, in prison. And white guy, right? Cool dude. And he's giving us a tour, and it smells like, it's nasty, like it stinks, right? But him, he smells $1 million. Me, man, who diaper, right? I smell something different. But him, right? He's like, yeah, this truck right here, trucks were coming in, dumping the recycling, right? He said, that truck gets me about $30,000, $40,000 a month. Boy had 50 trucks coming in a day. Do the math. Oh my gosh, we could do this all day. I could do this all day. But anyway, why did I start a grant writing firm? When I was at the governor's office, now I consult. I was an employee, so there's a difference, right? When you're an employee, you can't talk like this. There's a conflict of interest, right? Definitely an investigation would be ensued. So I could tell you where the money is at. I can't show you how to access the money. I used to take these tours, and I used to be on these panels, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to have my suit, my tie, and my badge, right? And these guys on the panel, I remember I was on one panel with the grant writing team for the city of Riverside. He goes, yeah, we got a writing squad. I said, a writing squad? I said, yeah, we got a writing squad. He goes, yeah, the city pays us a retainer just to keep, not to anything, just to retain, not to write a grant, just to keep them, $5 million. Just to keep them. And they do $100 million guaranteed in grant writing. $5 million ain't nothing, right? Oh, yeah, I'm 5 to get 100? Oh, it's a win. So now he's talking. I'm like, wait, we give out money, but how do I help people access the money? So I asked him, hey, he said, we don't do pro bono work. So I couldn't even finish my sentence. He cut me mid, we don't do pro bono work. But But think about it. I said I'm a professor at a university, right? At a college. A couple of them, right? I said I publish books. I got 9 books published. My son published 3. He's 7. I could write a little bit. But you know what I also know? I got friends at the university who love to write. You know what I also know? I got friends at the college who knows how to do budget for the entire department. Budget narratives, right? Budget layouts. You know what I also know? I got friends who can help do all types of stuff. Philosophical statements, they could do narratives, they can do a whole form of a grant. Let me just give them a call if they're interested. Now, I had to ask if they were interested because I was thinking about leaving the governor's office as an employee to be a consultant. So this is what I said. I said, look, I've helped bring in millions of dollars to San Bernardino and Riverside. Millions, facts. But you know what we need? We need people to help other communities who don't know how to access those dollars. We need writers. We need people who can do budgets. We need people who can, help create legal documents. We need help. I know you don't like working at the university like that. The politics, right? I know sometimes you get bored. I got, it's like, yeah, we'll do it. Then I got one professor. Then I got a second professor. Then I got another. So it's like 6 of us right now. And you know what? In the last 6 months, they've written $25 million in grants. That's nothing. And that's state. By the end of next year, we'll be doing state and federal. By the end of that year, we'll be doing state, federal, corporate, and philanthropic dollars. So we'll be tapping into close to $300-400 million in grants. But the reason why I helped try to build this team was because there's communities who need this type of service. So we don't charge up front. Because at the end of the day, we know people can't pay that $5 million retainer. So we add ourselves as administrators. Someone will do the evaluation. Someone will do the book. We just become support, right? And the thing is, in our community, man, we need that desperately. Because these other communities already do it naturally. They naturally do it. They don't even think twice. Oh, yeah, how much? So how does it work for us? We interview people in communities that we think might fit our portfolio. And when we find money, we'll say, hey, there's a grant. Are you interested? Sometimes we'll have to match you up with other entities so you can meet the requirements, right? Yesterday, I was meeting with Voltu. Voltu, what is Voltu? They built electric trucks for utility companies, right? They compete with Ford, Chevy, I can go down the list. And I'm helping them acquire funding with some other partners as well, right? So it's cool working with corporations, but what's beautiful? Working with community members, people who give back. For us, we want to feel fulfilled by helping others who help others. We want to be behind the scenes. We don't want nobody even know that we exist. We don't want to be in the cameras. We want to be behind the scenes to help entities grow. That's where we get our fulfillment, right? So that's what the establishment of Community Invested is about, which is the name of our organization, is to help organizations thrive. And we got a bunch of literally professors and writers so that guy with the $5 million retainer, he has a team of 60, right, that do all types of things. I'm a team of 7 right now, about 5 or 7. But by next year, we'll be about a team of 10. We'll create flexibility to help folks to grow their space, to grow their entity. So anyway, I didn't mean to take too much time, but I just wanted to just give you an insight that space, when I walk into this, I'm like, what? What? Can you believe? I'm talking to myself in that parking lot. I'm like, look at that space. I'm looking like, and I'm in the car like, oh, that's a ticket. They winning. They won. And when I come out, this brother here greeted me and said, hey, we got some food. I'm like, oh, and they hospitable. Oh, I love this place already. It's my kind of peoples. But anyway, I bring that to say that I just wanted to plant the seed. The second step is you have to do the research and investigate what's the zoning for that space, right? So one is the seed planted. Second is the zoning, because then once you know what it's zoned for, then it's like, okay, where we can find funding to help allocate to start the establishment. And so the other thing I will also say that when it comes to economic development, and I also do this with my college students, I was like, hey, is $50,000 or $80,000 a lot when you take a loan for college? They're like, yeah, it is. I said, really? Is it a lot of money to take a loan for college at $80,000? Yeah, it is. I said, well, I just helped a student graduate a couple years ago to open up their own practice, literally, own practice. This student loves art and likes to talk to people, right? She took out a loan for $75,000 to finish her college, right? She just got a license. So she does art therapy. That means you get to talk to her and paint at the same time. She's charging $200 an hour for her services. He's like, yeah. And that's the cheap, because she goes up to $3, right? Depends what your package you're getting. She makes, right now, she's bringing in $280,000 a year. Is $75,000 a lot for a loan? Okay. So now, why do I bring that up? Because I learned about economic development. If you get a loan for $3 and you're going to make that back the same, it's called easy money. So I'm going to plant the seed. In the future, there's going to be another conversation and say, hey, we figured out what it's zoned for. And someone's going to say, hey, can you bring that grant team to talk to us about the possibility of acquiring a grant, or maybe even getting a venture capitalist, or maybe even, and then there's another conversation about the money, about the permits, about the blueprints, about the layout. And that's a strategy meeting, right? Because then once you get the seed planted, you got to strategize where you're going to plant your roots, how long is it going to take to grow, harvest, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I bring all that to say this ain't the last conversation. This is just the first. So with that being said, thank you all. Blessings to you all. Thank you for the invite.
All right, Professor Avila. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. We're going to keep this panel going. We're going to have Pastor Stark to come up and tell us how to live longer.
I was thinking that, no, I'm not going to sit down. I was just thinking, God bless you. I hope you're going to be able to stay. I would like to talk. That's R3, as a matter of fact, zone, yeah, so. And we just found that out a couple of weeks ago. Sure us how we've been sleeping on that. But anyway, I want to just take the time to compliment Brother William Siebert here. We've spent thousands of dollars maintaining that property lot. But in the last couple of months, we made probably $2,000 or $3,000 off of that lot through the cars and the charging and what he's been sitting up for. So I thought about how much we could have made. I won't say lost, but how much we could have made off the property. So I'm very interested in talking to you. Ella Bradford, where is he? I want you to be interested because I'm trying to mentor you because I'm getting, just had a birthday not long ago. But anyway, I hope to live another, so many years. But the project sometimes takes time and energy and all of that. So let's meet with him before he leaves and set up some discussion. How much air is the proper air for a tire? How much? See what he said? Listen what he said. See what he said? Depending on what? Our truck. Or whatever vehicle is. But we have a tendency, all of us, to just give a flat answer. But the question would be, what kind of tire is it? Because if it's a tire like that Coach, and I put 37 pounds in it, it's not going to go nowhere. Not going to inflate. But now watch this. What if it's a 30, what did you give us, 32? What if it's a 32-pound tire, that's the proper pressure, and I put 45 in there? What's going to happen? If it doesn't burst, it's going to do what? It's going to wear uneven. It's going to wear uneven. So it's going to wear out premature, so to speak. Now, I said, what did all that have to do with health? A lot depends on health. Health is your number one valuable asset. Not your money, which is good. God bless you, that's good. But what is money? What good is money if you don't have your health? Now, I'm not saying health is above salvation, because we all know that salvation is the number one thing. But what I'm trying to say to you is, just like when I asked the question about the pressure in a tire, how many know their blood pressure the last time? When the last time you had your blood pressure checked? When? How long? 2 days ago. One of the most important things about your body, which is your most, remember, think of your body as your most valuable asset. Think of it that way. Because without a body, or without a body that's healthy, nothing's going to happen. Lay in the hospital or whatever. So the important thing for all of us is to think about, when we think about our health, when you think about health, is to think about your body. Now, suppose I put you in a car that had no meters. What would you do? What is the most important meter in a car for you? 1 meter in the car. If you looked at 1 meter, if you just had 1 meter in your car, what's the most important one? What did you say? What did you say, Alex? Fuel. Fuel? How many look at the oil meter? How many? Tell me. Just totally. How many people look at your oil gauge or your oil meter? Let me say gauge. How many look at your oil gauge? Do you even know what it should be? Do you even know what your oil pressure should be? You don't. Most of us don't. We don't even look at it. You could take it out and you never miss it. What are you trying to say? Follow me. Try to follow me. Your body is your most valuable asset. And there are certain things in your body you need to pay attention to. And I asked him, what was the most important? He said, who said fuel? Fuel. Alex, is Alex? He said fuel. Fuel is perhaps the most valuable meter or gauge to watch, right? That's the one we watch. What would be your next one? Anybody tell me what would be your next one? What? Heat gauge. Heat or oil, and we don't look at the oil pressure. So the heat would probably be your next one. Gas, heat. Is the meter okay in the heat? Is the meter okay in the gas? That's the only two. We got about 5 or 6 gauges, but none of those others we pay nothing no attention to. Now, what do you, keep up with me. So I'm saying this to say, in our bodies, it's the same way. We got a lot of things going on in our bodies that a lot of us don't pay enough attention to. Now, all of those gauges in every car, I'm going to go over to cars, every car has something. I'm going to get in trouble, so don't throw nothing. But every car have a weight, what? What? A weight capacity, right? You follow me? So for that car to function, or that truck, or whatever vehicle it is to function properly with those tires, everything is set up based on you only having a certain amount of weight on that vehicle, right? What are you saying, Brother Preacher? I'm saying that one of the things that we fail to pay much attention to, most of us, a lot of us, is our weight. I know that's offensive when you say that. But remember, that car, everything on it is set up based on that maximum weight. So a lot of times, if we get outside that maximum weight, then there's problems, right? Now, okay, let's go to the body real quick. What's the most important thing we ought to keep eyes on our body? Y'all don't want to say it. What's the most important thing to give your body? Water? You say water? What you say? Water? Can you live long? What can you live the longest without? Water or food? What do you need most? Live longer without food, not water. Water is the most important thing for us to keep in our body, a liquid, because our body is about 70% liquid. Right? Follow me? So, now, as with the car, someone said they look at the heat gauge. That is perhaps the most important. Alex, I think, said the heat gauge. What do you think is the heat gauge for your body? What? Normally, you would think maybe the temperature, you do relate temperature with heat. But in your body, most of us have not much attention, not a lot of problems with our temperature. But just about, if I took a sample, how long I got, about 10 minutes? Somehow. But if I took a sample of you, and don't raise your hand, but a lot of us are on what? Blood pressure. To keep what? Pressure down. So, what are you saying? I'm saying our bodies have a lot of systems. And if you pay attention, like in a car, I know for me, just like you said, I'm looking at the heat gauge and the fuel. Fuel and heat. That's my two main gauges, right? First thing I look at usually is the fuel, because I don't have no heat problem when I get in there, turn the switch on. Only thing I can really gauge is what? Fuel. You can't gauge the temperature as soon as you get in there, because it's going to take a while for that to get to the maximum. I was driving my Chrysler, which we had got in an accident, and it was messed up. Excuse me, my wife doesn't like it anymore. Doesn't like the Chrysler now. That used to be her car. But anyway, she doesn't like it anymore. So I started driving it a little bit, and the heat gauge was going up. Now, you know, from Monroe Vista to the church, it's no reason why it should be hot. Right? But I get from Monroe Vista to the church, and I'm looking at the heat gauge, and oh, my God, where's it headed? So I stop and run it a little while. It don't stop. It doesn't stop where it should normally stop. Kept going. So I said, well, honey, watch your key. I said, please be careful with the heat gauge. I haven't got it to the shop yet to find out what's wrong with it. But anyway, I drove it a while, just hit it there, and then every once in a while I'd have like a little extra error, and I couldn't hardly get home because the heat gauge was shooting over in the red, right? So I thought, what's wrong with this? I need to take this in and get it checked. Guess what was wrong? Huh? What's the other simple thing that could be wrong? Huh? Radiator? Who said no water? I drove a month, be limited to just get to the church and back. You ready to the church and back? I said, don't go nowhere, just go to the church and back if you have to use the car. And I stopped, I thought one day, I thought, you know what? You haven't checked the what? Guess what? I checked the water, and I felt like kicking myself. Put water in it. That's what it was alone. Now, I'm saying all this to say this. As we look at our cars, please look at what? Look at your body. Look at your body. Look at your body weight. Try to gauge it. If I said these numbers, for instance, if I said 2, 4, 6, what's the next number? Okay, if I say 3, 6, 9, what's the next number? Right, you hit that right on the money, easy, no problem, right? So what are you saying, Brother Preacher? Watch the trend. if your pressure is going up, but now, look at here. Here's the way I do it. You see this? All of this is health stuff. Most of it is my own personal. When I go to the doctor, I keep it. I keep my records right in here. Matter of fact, I got a chart where I chart my blood pressure, my weight, all that stuff. I keep it. I chart it because what I found out by charting it, what? It's easy. It's easy to see where something is going. Not just track it, but you easily can see where it's going. Just like I said, 2, 4, 6, 8, you say what, 10? Or if I say 3, 6, 9, you say 12. You can easily do that. All of you get that right? But that's because you're used to tracking that number system. So if you track your body blood pressure, if you look at your body blood pressure, every time you come back from the doctor, if you put it on a little chart, you can see where it's going. Not only that, you can project where it's going to be. And that's the most important part, is to project where that blood pressure is going to be. Project where that cholesterol level is going to be. Project where those things are going to be. And that has a lot to do with your health. Because if I don't watch the heat gauge, and if you're running and don't watch the heat gauge, what's going to happen? I'm going to mess up a whole engine. And cost what? Thousands of dollars. Thousands. What about our health? What's going to happen to our health if we don't keep up with our strokes, heart attack? Can they easily be reversed? Can they easily be reversed? Our bodies have a lot of systems. And a lot of us don't give enough attention to. We have a skeleton system. I'm hobbling now. You see me hobbling? You know why? No. Thank you. I take it as a compliment. I used to play, but not nowhere near what the level you thinking. But anyway, I got hip problems. On this side, it's bone to bone. Now, I normally walk 30 miles every day. I've been doing this since '99. So I normally do right now. I'm cutting down to about 1.25 miles every day. Still walking, but I'm looking at what I need to do for that. I may have to have a hip replacement because of the bone. I think you recently had one, right? But anyway, so that's the skeleton system. Then the muscular system, you have to be careful how you move and how you, especially a basketball or football player. A lot of times you have a problem. Then you got your nervous system. You have a respiratory system. You have a digestive system. How many have a problem with the digestive system? You know what's that? What do you look at? What would you look at? I'm gonna pick on Dominique. Dominique, what would you look at if you had digestive problem? I hear it not the best. Okay, but what could you do? What could we do? If you chart what you're eating, we're close. I mean, your diet, exactly. So if you watch what you're eating, you can almost backtrack to where the problem comes. You know what I mean? Here's the way you think of pain. You know how I think of pain? Pain is a friend. Tell your neighbor, pain is a friend. You know why pain is a friend? Thank you. It lets you know something is wrong. It doesn't tell you what it is, but it's like, hey, something is wrong. This is pain. The body is not made to have pain. It's not made for pain. But it alerts you that there's a problem. Then what do? You start what? Tell us.
You have to try to figure out what's wrong.
You have to try to figure out where that pain is coming from, especially if it's not like a hip or something. If it's a pain in your stomach, for instance, what is it? So Alex. What does that do, though? What is taking drugs to avoid the pain? Here's what it's like. Suppose the fire alarm went off, and I run up there and hit the button, boom, and I can turn it off. They come back and start teaching again. It went off again, I went up there, boom, I turned it off. Come back and start teaching again. Too close. Sorry about that. But that's what we do. Exactly right. When we take medicine, it doesn't solve the problem. It's like turning off that fire extinguisher, that alarm, That's what it's like. But the problems are getting greater. You know why? Here's what happened. You're taking one Advil now. If you track it on the chart, that's why I like charting. Charting will tell you, if you're taking one now for the pain, now 6 months later, you got to take 2 for that same pain. A year later, you're taking 3 for the same pain. What does that mean? Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. Doesn't take an Alex to figure that out, does it? Oh, good. I'm about finished. All I want to do today is just simply alert you that your body really is the most important asset that you have. Because when it's hurting, can you function up to par? No. You can't function at the level that you need to function at when your body is hurting, when your body is not at the level that it should be. So that's why look at pain as a friend, not an enemy. I got this pain. Well, take this for it, take that for it. You get all kind of guys telling you, people telling you what to take for it. Then somebody comes and says, you need to get that checked out. That's the one you need to listen to. Get that checked out. Because a lot of times, if you catch something early enough, it can be fixed. But if you keep taking that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and finally you say, well, I think I better go to the doctor. And you get to the doctor, and what do you say? It's the stage. What do you tell you? What's in the stage? Remember, most things happen in stages. That's why I'm trying to tell you why charting is so critical for your health. If you check it in stages, you can catch it. Now, we just men, right? Oh, God. Oh, boy, y'all too much. Anyway, about 15 years ago, okay, here's another thing. Who knows? Here's another check for you. Who knows what your prostate scores are? What the safety zone and all that? Anybody have any idea? Any idea? If you went to the doctor, he said, I'll use myself. He said, George, you got a prostate, your score is 8. Oh, my God. He knows nothing about it. Just like when you look at that gauge, if they didn't put the green, the yellow, and the red and all that, you wouldn't have no idea. You wouldn't. But like you said, so I went for my physical. So the doctor said, George, your prostate is high. I don't know what you're going to need to do something about it. So keep it out. So I started charting it. So it kept going. So finally he says, I tell you what, you got a stage where you need to do something about it, You can, got a lot of options. He gave me some options. You can do chemo or radiation or whatever and fix it, possibly fix it. So I thought about it. However, what's that danger? Anybody know the danger of taking that? What's the danger of going through when you got prostate cancer? What's the danger of radiation and chemo? It kills your organ. In most cases, they kill your organ, especially depending on the stage and the amount of treatment. And a lot of men, that's my manhood. But a lot of them, you walk by. Now, you have your own opinion, but it's not your manhood as far as I'm concerned. It's a part of your man. Like my hand. If I lose a finger, or 2 fingers, or 3 fingers, I didn't lose my whole hand, right? So, what are you saying? So, anyway, I thought about it when I'm just sharing something with you. I don't think I've shared it overly before too much. But this was way back in 2012, I think. So I said, I prayed about it. I laid in the bed and got angry with God and everybody else. But you get over that, right? Y'all don't do that. But anyway, I'm trying to get through. But anyway, so I got over and I decided, you know what? The Lord prayed, fasted a little bit. And I said, Lord, I said, go through the treatment. You're going to be okay. So I went through the treatment, and I'm okay. I didn't lose mine. Got my man here. I'm still, functioning. And the devil tell you all kinds of stuff. Well, you got your wife and you got this, what's going to happen, all that kind of thing. But I'm saying all of this, I'm sharing all this with you, and I got a whole bunch of stuff about the numbers that you need to know about and you need to track. But some of them are more important than others because if you don't keep an eye on them, keep putting a Band-Aid over them, they'll get out of hand, and then it'll be too late. And I've lost several friends. I don't know about you, but I've lost several friends with prostate cancer. Men. I'm talking about men. We're men. Because they refused to get treatment for it. Because they said that's their manhood. And they refused to do it. And that's their choice. Don't get me wrong. That's their choice. It's not 100%. But there's a lot of things in dieting that can bring that back. A lot of things you can do to not lose that totally. And so first thing I started doing was reading about how to recover from that. And the Lord showed me how to do that. And thank God it's actually almost better than before, I'll be honest. So I'm saying all this to say this about the health, is if you think about your health as your most important asset, then you'll put more attention to it. And if you think about what affects your health more than anything else, then that's what you should give attention to. And remember, weight affects our health more than anything else. I've seen some brilliant people that just health-wise and diet-wise, they're just no discipline. Yeah, it's challenging, isn't it? My daughter-in-law told me this today when she comes. She said, Dad, I brought you your favorite. Well, I know what my favorite is. Guess what my favorite is, Alex? For dessert. Turkey, just turkey. I mean, just dessert. I'm sorry, just dessert. You got me thinking about turkey. Just dessert. What do you think? What do you think? Huh? Muffin dot dog. What? Come on, what's the black people's favorite? You close. What's right behind peach cobbler? Apple pie. Apple pie or what? Not apple pie, but what? Huh? Oh, my God. You don't like sweet potato pie? Who don't like sweet potato pie? Did you? I missed that. I'm sorry, I missed that. I missed that. But anyway, I'm going to close, but I got a lot of stuff here. I got a lot of things that I track in my own self. But like I said, remember that alarm goes off, you got to find out if there's a fire, at least. You know what I mean? Don't just go turn it off, because if you just go turn it off, it's not going to get any better. But I'm just going to run down some numbers and I'm going to be finished because we're over. You know your own weight. How many got a weight? Not just a scale, but do you have a bracket where you try to stay in? A weight bracket? What I mean, yeah, I can give you BMI, but I'm just, most of us we would be over it anyway. But do you have a weight? Do you have a weight bracket that you try to keep your weight in? Like say maybe 190, 180. Too high for you? Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. See, I try to stay between 185, 195, no more. I'm 5'11". But I like to be in the lower numbers. Now, you should have, it would be good for you to have that. What's the blood pressure? What you looking for in blood pressure? Yeah. That's an ideal thing. What about cholesterol? I have no idea. Right? Anybody have any idea what a good cholesterol score is? No. Some of these things, they're critical for your health. The prostate numbers I said before, if I had an 8, I'd be off of the chart. But he knows. 4, when you hit 4, you're at the top. So if you go to your doctor and they say, some of these things you should ask your doctor when you go to the exam. You say, can you check my prostate? What's my PSA? PSA, what they call it. Huh? Yeah, 3 is okay. But here again, the main thing about most things that we do, we need to do what? Chart them. Yeah, you won't see it just reading the numbers, and my time I think is up. But you won't see it just with the numbers, the raw numbers. Only can you really, it'll pop out just like that 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, or that 3, 6, 9, 12. It just popped out. Most all of you got that right off. You can see it when you have to hear those kind of numbers. It's the same thing when you chart it. I have a chart I got all kinds of stuff. But I have a chart that I put my weight, a weight chart. I have a blood pressure chart, prostate chart, all those charts. And so I can watch it. I can watch where it's going. See, and that way I know where I'm at. Because if you don't watch it, when you do catch it, it's maybe out of hand. But always remember, pain is your what? Because it lets you know what, Elder Thomas, what pain lets you know? Yeah. Sometimes pain, you know, you may not need to do anything about it. Once you determine what it's from, you may not need to do anything. If your finger is cut, you know you're going to have pain for a certain amount of time. But if you cut your finger today and it's still a problem 4 months from now, you say, what, I might have an infection, right? Huh? Maybe broke. So you got to take another step. Anyway, so please, pretty please, beloved, as a group of people, a lot of us have problems with our weight, you know, and I know that's a curse word almost. But pretty please watch that, because that drives almost everything else, just like that truck tire or that vehicle tire. If it's too low, it's going to slow you down. If it's too fast, you might go good, but it's going to wear it out too quick. So you want to have it right at the right pressure so that that tire can get the maximum out of it. Same with our lives. We want to get the maximum out of our life. And also, when you're not physically healthy, you can't even think straight. You won't think straight. Why? Because that pain is taking too much of your energy dealing with that pain that you don't really have a clear mind, clear thing in your mind. God bless you. Anybody have any questions while I'm up? I think I'm the last one. Am I the last one? Huh? Oh, you're going to put chairs up. Okay. All right, I'm done. I got a lot of information. I'll be glad to share with you about these numbers, because it has been a blessing to me to, like I say, I'm 79. I thank the Lord for my age. I have no regrets. God has been good to me. I've been in the hospital one day in my whole life. That's why you hear me say I'm blessed and highly favored. A lot of people can't say that. And that was just for observation.
Pastor, God bless you. I mean, that information we need, and we need to keep that on our mind. While he was up there talking, and he was, you know, saying about how important our health is. This is what I see. I don't know if anybody else see it, but somebody can get a brand new car. Brand new car.
No,
They're
I'm
a
saying,
smoker.
I
What
look
they
up.
do? They smoke the cigarette and have the cigarette hanging out their car because they don't want the smell in their car. But it's all right to go in their bodies. Something's wrong there. We're gonna end this session with questions. We have talk about the homeless, the marriage, the grants, the health, mentor, all of them, and the homeless, the marriage, mentor, grants, and the health. So if you have everybody come up. Okay, if anybody have a question? But I have a question, though. My first question is to the brother that did the mental health. My question is, I mean, you talked about, you know, how you try to put them in homes and everything, but do you put them on medication? I was wondering about that.
So I would say most programs no, because most programs that are a housing program, they work off the housing first model. So they don't really try to cure any financial or mental health or physical health that's going on with that participant before they house them. They're hoping that we can house them and then get them employed, get them the medical care that they need, and go that way, because we understand definitely with certain people's medical, it's easier for them to get the proper treatment if they are housed, if they are in a proper housing situation. Same thing with employment. If they're in a proper housing shelter or housing situation, it's easier to get employed. You know, it's easier to take showers. It's easier to be mentally prepared for that interview. So most programs are for a housing housing first model. You do have few programs depending on the severity of like that person's health or mental health, that they are required to take medication or be part of some kind of health field or health program before they can get housed within that program.
I'm on the panel, but can I ask a question? Hear me? All right. My question is for Alex. How much trouble is it to change the zoning of an area that's zoned for one thing and you want to do something else with that, like this property, for instance, next door, it's zone R3, and we was thinking of possibly getting the zoning changed. Is that a lot of problem? You have any information?
Yeah, in terms of zoning, it is an interesting time to ask that question because that question is being evaluated by a lot of cities. And the reason it's being evaluated by a lot of cities, this cell phone has been interesting. So it used to be that you go to the store to go buy what you need. A lot of people are using this cell phone, and a lot of these realtor stores, they know that these stores that are closing down, malls that are closing down, have to figure out how to reinvent themselves. So now cities are reevaluating a lot of the blight and a lot of these warehouses, a lot of these facilities that are closing down, and now they're looking at possibly rezoning. So because of the timing of where we at and more people consumed by the device,
So now cities are evaluating.
oh, that's a feed. That's a feedback. Yeah. So those challenges right there are creating cities to start to reevaluate how to grow the economic and their workforce, and so now there's more openness to rezoning. And what they're usually looking at is mixed use. And that's what I was meant to say earlier. If you can get a mixed use facility, that's better than gold. Because you could do multiple things on a property, everything from residential to commercial. And so it depends on where your city is at. I just drove just a few minutes around your city. And this is they got money. I can tell. You can tell what kind of money a city is getting according to what developments are around it. And so, yeah, it can take anywhere from a year because when you rezone, you got permits, you got people that have to do they have to do the blueprints and city codes and all that. So, having your economic developer, knowing who your economic developer is going to be key. Like going to those meetings, there just should be public meetings, and asking for forms to see what you need to do, petition or advocate to get your thing to be rezoned. So some cities, I could tell you one city that was impressive. Adelanto, my goodness. I met with the mayor and his team. They can rezone, literally they can rezone a property in under 30 days. That's unheard of. Like, that's probably the record. I think they have the record on rezoning and bringing in industries and companies. Because normally you're looking at a year or two, just even conversation forms, depending on what kind of city you have. But, and then also what's happening, in terms of, because, when you build that entity, that's a tax for the city. That's how you pay for your firefighters, your libraries, and things like that. So they want to support businesses coming in, especially new ones, because of the taxes incentives. But to your question, I would have to say you need to see if you can get a meeting with your economic developer, go down to the city hall and start looking at those forms, and they'll tell you what the time frame is, but it could be expedited according to what's happening on their agenda. A lot of your economic developers always think about the Chipotles and your Home Depots, but you already got these things here. Now, when it comes to small businesses, it definitely it's a market for that. And so I will reach out to them and ask them, and they'll give you a whole link, a form, and it could take anywhere from 6 months, a couple years. But also, do you have a legal team? All right, don't worry about it. Yeah, legal team is another thing. If you don't, there's consultants that will either pro bono or figure out how to support. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
In your suggestions for grant writing, you look at this particular area, what would be an ideal proposal if we come to some areas like this? After school, you see where the Walmart and all this is building up. Ideally, what you encounter with proposal or writer in an area like this, what would you suggest to them if they were thinking about in our situation?
Usually when you have these type of entities here, that means when I see your plazas, you got two almost back to back. So my guess is the income ratio is probably six figures in this region. So it's probably 110, $120,000 a year. I can, again, how do I guess that? Is you can look at the development. Because for a city to get money to build the plaza, you have to have a certain threshold, certain income. So that kind of gives you, what you're playing. So if you go to Upland, you got a Tesla, you got all these. So their income over there starts at 150, so you can see what that looks like. For here, trying to just guess according to what the development already currently that you have exists, my guess is you have a commuter town. So my suggestion is you probably have families who are probably working somewhere else and living here, and they might want to do something here. So finding things that create membership, culture, community, that can keep people here as opposed to driving to LA, all these other branches. So there's a bunch of things, but because you have a school right there, so you could think about gym memberships, but not what you see now with those 24 hours. Kids don't have places to play. So if I see a school there, was that an elementary? How many elementary schools in this area? Probably what, 2 or 3? 3. Look, I could. So you can almost guarantee parents don't got nowhere to really take these kids, right? So there's indoor gyms that are being built that parents will pay $20, $30 a month because their kids can just burn that energy, because McDonald's, that's why they built. Because they did the research, right? So when you look at McDonald's, they got the research. Oh, you know what? There's not enough parks or places for kids to play. So I need them to eat my food, so I'm going to just build one right in the store. But if you build one that people can just go in, man. So anyway, I can go on and give a bunch of suggestions, but if I see a school, I see a lot of family stuff, Home Depots, dads. Or I can almost picture the demographic. All right, cool. If you built this here, they'll show up, right? Because they already did the layout. That's why you got these type of stores here, these businesses. So, sorry for the long answer.
Can I hop in there real quick, if you all don't mind?
Can you hear us, Neil?
Okay, I just wanted to hop in there real quick. Because we look at these things, and I'm always looking at what the area looks like as well. You also can look at that from a church standpoint. What can a church do to make the community better? I always say you can't go plant a church if you're not going to do anything for the community. But how the church grows from that is when you get in a community, and like in the community that I live, you have two choices for after school kids. One is they have a karate center, a dojo up here, and then they have like a kid zone. The kid zone is not open half the time. In fact, it's only open, I believe, in the summer. So from a church standpoint, if you can get in there with the church and say you have a wing of your church and that is dedicated to uh, children after school, that is how you can get not only like the gentleman said, build the membership and then go on to building something else. But that's a good place to start, bringing that into the church. Not only is it going to immediately accelerate your membership and your finances, it's going to give that community another option for whatever you're trying to do, whether it's a after school feeding, uh, an after school program where the kids can come and play, and things like that. So I always look at it, from the standpoint is how can the church benefit from having something here and having them have to come to the church to do particular activity. So I just wanted to put my penny in there. Uh-oh, I lost him. I can't hear him no more. I lost you, sir. Nah, I can see you guys. I just can't hear you guys. Yeah, it's no audio. I don't think it's the microphone. It's just we're not getting any audio.
So kids can come here for free.
There we
Eat for
go.
free. Oh, you can hear me?
Finally, we're on. I figured
All
it
right.
was something good you were saying that caused the audio to go out.
Oh, he can hear me?
But I can hear you now,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So my suggestion, because I grew up in that system where the church had an after school program, a food service program, what wound up happening in that church, the grant community start to dwindle. So when we start looking at grants, a lot of the grants, and if we hopefully, I pray we don't go to war, a lot of things that happen in the economy affects how grants are given, right? So if you're depending on grants to service or just memberships to service your entity, it kind of fluctuate. So the after-school program used to be a great idea, but then a lot of that pool money just got shrunk, and a lot of it went to the school districts. My suggestion would be you should have an after-school program that does not depend on membership, right? Because you have another entity that can finance that out the gate. So if you want to do sports, if you want to do any type of activities, the last thing the church should worry about, where's the money coming from?
Right.
And so I say that because a lot of church, the concept is, let me help you. And I've met a lot of pastors who no one's checking on the pastor. Because the church about to close down. The finances are crazy. They can't even pay the lights, right? So I am against good churches dying because they don't have entrepreneurship and economic development added to their aspect. And so a lot of times we want to charge the members. You charge an entity so the members can, and that's where I learned from the Dutch. Those people were poor. They could not afford to even pay for their own socks. They gave that people free homes. And those people now pay into the church. So when Debbie comes to the Dutch community and she goes to the pastor, oh, here's $5,000 because you helped me get that house. So that money come regular because you built a community that now is sustainable, pay taxes, has careers, right? So I would look at entities that with the church, you help build and grow communities. You send people to college. You help pay healthcare bills. How many? We can go down the list, right? To bury somebody, the cost, right? How many people got full-term insurance? People don't even know how to use insurance.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm learning now and telling people, you ought to have insurance. They don't understand that is a resource that you can pull from. Imagine if you buy one thing, I did was I got I had life insurance, but I got another life insurance that my wife will specifically, put into the church so the legacy continues. But the other thing about life insurance is that if you get life insurance on your kid when he's born, you don't have to worry about a college fund because he can, or he or she can pull from that life insurance policy once they get of college age.
See, and so right there, you're talking about spending. What I learned living in Iowa City specifically, around 97% white people. Let me just state that. The city, the college was 98% white. When I used to hang out with them, I didn't realize how much I didn't understand in terms of, because you said the first part correct. So I would hang out with Rebecca, right? We'll go to our house, her amazing $1 million home. The dad would go, yeah. When she was 6, I got full-term life insurance on Rebecca. When Rebecca turned 10, you know what he did? He bought a building under Rebecca's name, a 4-plex. Then he bought a 10-plex. So by the time Rebecca turns 21, she already has income coming into her trust funds. So college is not a thing for them to pay. What I learned is I'm pulling insurance. My son has stocks, bonds. Well, he has stocks. He's going to get bonds next year, and he has insurance. So when he turns of age, you know what I'm going to do? The same thing I learned from Rebecca's dad. I'm going to pull the money and buy a building because people don't know that you can use insurance as a bank, full-term insurance, not right, and then use that as an investment. So whatever you put money out, it should bring 3-4 times the money back.
Right,
and that's how you know. So anyway, the church could do that too. Let me stop.
No, you need to keep going. And I like this conversation that you're having because and I'm just going to say it, I don't mean any disrespect, but we don't talk about stuff like that. And because we don't talk about it, we don't get it. We don't have that tangible asset because you start talking about life insurance, most of us are going to say, "Oh, you talking about me dying," and I don't want to hear all that. But that is important. And as a church leader, as a pastor, I'm tired of doing car washes and bake sales to bury you. And you should be tired of it too. We need to take more, and I'm going off on a tangent, but we need to take more accountability for our community because if I go today, I know, and this is biblical, I know that my grandchild is taken care of, who's 5. I know that his children will be taken care of. And the Bible says a man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And so when I go, I don't want to be a burden on my wife, but I want her life to be better or just as it is now, that I provide for her. And a lot of us, we don't think that way. And by us, I mean our pigmentation of skin. Let's put it like that.
And to go back on that, like, I don't know if anybody even thought about this aspect, but I've heard about it more than once that a wife passes away, and they don't have a life insurance. Now they lose their house, they go into homelessness, and so I've heard that story multiple times, and it's sad because it almost doesn't even matter sometimes, depending on your degree, what your education is. If you can't make it, you can't make it. Not everybody has a family or a good friend group to back them to be able to help them on their feet when that does happen, when life happens. Because some people, like he was saying, like they don't want to get life insurance because it's the thought of death. It's the thought of me not being here, and I don't want to have that idea. But then also with life insurance, that's why he was saying both of them were saying like you get it for your kids when they're young. It's also cheaper when you get it for your kids when you're young. And as we all should know while we're in here and stuff, it's more expensive when you get it when you're older, and definitely when you're older and you have any health issues. Because at the end of the day, life insurance is a business. And so they primarily, honestly, want to hopefully not have to pay you out. And if they're going to pay you out, it's a situation where they got you when you were healthy. Because some people pass away and they didn't have a history of anything, and something just happened.
I think people die younger and faster. Health. We talked about our bodies and the lack of information. And it's interesting if you look at our surrounding neighborhoods, the food that is accessible, how fast that food process goes into our body and blows us up. So the other issue is how to eat healthier, but how can you afford to eat healthier, right? And so how to make affordable food and accessible food, and how to make that even a possibility. Because food, for example, you drink water, that's the first thing you should do when you wake up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But how long we go all day before we touch a bottle of water, right? You've been talking about the pressure. Your body needs that oil, that lubricant, and water is its lubricant, the brain. If you drunk water in the morning, if you've never done it, try it tomorrow. You're going to feel like you want to throw up. And then 2 minutes later, you're going to feel like you up, like your body's alert. Mm-hmm. Water keeps you up longer than coffee.
Well, hold on now, coffee. I'm an avid coffee drinker, but I also drink water.
That don't work.
See, I know you're going to get me.
That don't work.
I knew you were going to get me.
But you know, the number one enemy of us, like I used to tell this to my family. Well, I go to a funeral, right? My uncle passed away from what he was eating at the service. The same thing that killed my uncle is being served. I'm like, wow, the connection, the disconnection.
Yeah.
And let me ask for some water there. There's Kool-Aid, there's alcohol. You can't find a bottle of water at these events. So I say that to say what? I think the number one killer of us is what we eat and what you were talking about. That's why I love the sermon you was giving today. And that also goes to mental health. Because if you don't feel good, you're not gonna feel good, you're not gonna do good. I can literally talk to people right now, and their mind and their body are they're just thinking about now. That's poverty. Poverty is about, it's not about money. Poverty is in increments of time. You can tell what kind of person you're talking to depending on how they look at time. I got to do it for the moment, right now. Or I could just think about next week. The people who can look at 5, 10 years out, those folks take care of their bodies. Those folks are wealthy because they understand investment. And you know what? One of my best friends, I'm not even going to say his name because we're on Facebook. He's probably on there right now. So look, he got into a car accident. And he lived, everybody, you know, he got a settlement for about $75,000. I said, yo, do not spend the money. Let me find some stocks or where you can put the money to triple the 75. So let's say this is February. I'm like, all right, don't spend the money. So February, then comes what? What comes after February? March. I call him in March. I say, hey, don't spend the money. Oh, no, I just took $5,000 out. You know, I got to take care. I said, all right, yo, don't spend no more money. After March, what comes? April. Hey, look, I'm still looking at it. Oh, no, I just took out $10,000. I'm like, wait. Hey, you need, all right, no more. Do not spend the money, right? We get to July. We get to the summer. Roku at the time, Roku was $25 a stock. The TV, you know, the Fire Sticks, you know, so it's Roku and Fire Stick. They both came out at the same time. Roku decided to create TVs because they knew that Fire Stick was so they put the software in the TV. It was smart, slick, because people were going to jail. So Roku said, oh, I'm going to just build the TV, put the software in the TV. Smart TVs, now they call them, right? Hey, I found you a stock, $25. You put your whole thing in there, and then there's a thing called mRNA. That's Moderna. This is the new medicine. We're not even talking. So I say, yo, listen, go put your money in Moderna, put your money in Roku. Moderna was like $30, $40. Roku shoot up. So I'm telling him this. I don't even ask him if he have any money left. I just put whatever you got. So boom, a year later goes, $25 turns to $250. I'm doing a calculation. Oh, he should be up. Moderna, $35, couple hundred. Oh, he should be up. I think I made my boy $500,000 right now. So I call him celebrating. Hey, yo, congratulations. You sitting at $500,000, right? He said, what are you talking about? Wait, what? What are you talking about what I was talking about? I gave you the stocks to make the investment. Oh, about that. Nah, because at the time, see, he's only thinking about the moment. He couldn't see the future. Broke my heart. And I can't even be mad at him because that's how we grow up. Everything is about now. So we don't have time to think about the future. We got to feed ourselves. We got to feed our kids. We got to pay bills. We're just an engine and a machine. We don't have no. So anyway, I say that to say what? You look at these schools, successful schools got what? Bonds. They got trust funds. So when Trump says, I'm going to cut your money off, they're sitting on $1 billion trust fund.
Yeah.
Are we good? We'll outlive that. we don't even talk in that. We don't even have the language. The vocabulary is not even there to start talking about investment. So anyway, I say that to say that your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health is tied in terms of how you see yourself in time. If you don't think you're going to be around long enough, you don't make the investment. But if you believe in the legacy, you make the investment on your body, your mental health, on your spiritual health. That's longevity. And you could pass that down to our kids and to our community. So I ain't even going on a tangent.
But I love the tangent because that aspect, so I work for the Housing Authority of Riverside County, our Section 8 program. Section 8, roughly, you pay 30% of your income. That's your rent. If you have zero income, your portion of rent is zero. And we just ask you to figure out utility bills on your own. We have people on the program that's making, I would say, good money for low income, making $40,000 a year. I'm gonna tell you, okay, your rental portion is $1,000, $800. Doesn't even matter where you're living. You could be renting a 5-bedroom house and everything. Your rent is still $800, $1,000 and stuff because it all depends on your income. There's been so many times that people have called us back saying like, I don't know how I'm gonna pay the rent this month. Even though their income is, their portion of rent is only 30% of their income, because it's like he was saying, they're only thinking about what right now. They're not even thinking about the end of the month or next month. They're thinking about right now, what they can buy for their own, the money that they have. Oh, I got this check for $1,300. That one check for $1,300 could have paid your rent for that month, but you didn't spend it so fast that now you don't got the rent when you need it. And there's been so many times that people have gotten good jobs. I'm talking about like, they got a $60,000 job. Now I'm telling you, okay, even though your mortgage is $3,000 or the rent is $3,000, your rent is $1,500, $2,000. Mind you, this is still 30% of their income. But the fact them factoring, think about, that's my rent now. This is probably potentially the highest rent that they've ever seen them having to pay themselves, even though we're telling them you have the income to pay it. There's individuals that quit their job. So all that extra income you had after you paying your rent is all gone. And they do that primarily just to put their portion of rent to zero. And in my mind, it's unfathomable. But it happens all the time at my job. A little bit too often for me to that I like. Before I came into my current role right now where I'm at, I used to be in this program called Family Self-Sufficiency Program. It's called FSS. Within that program, it's a whole program just to encourage individuals to get earned income. So the earned income is you either making your own business or you working, and so increasing your income. The more you increase your income, we set up an escrow account for you. If you started the program and you had $200 and now your portion of rent is $500, every month $300 going into this escrow account for you with interest. And essentially, when you graduate that program in 3 to 5 years, all that money you got you had in that escrow account, you get in a check. And so with that program, we've had people, be successful in it. We got people getting escrow checks between $5,000 and $30,000, and this is all with them just being in the program. But compared to the 5,000 people that is on Section 8, that program has less than 500 people in that program. And then even less than that, that's actually using it to the fullest potential, that's actually working to increase their income. And I say that because it goes to what Alex just said. Alex just said that, people only think about right now. They don't think about their future. When you have an individual that thinks about their future, there's no limit to what they can do. They can really expand and create situations for their family that they never had. But some people, honestly, when it comes to the family history and the family education, they don't have it and they don't understand it, and so it's scary. And so, I just wanted to say that because it just came to mind.
So that goes back to Apostle Neil, talking about mentorship.
Yeah,
When we have an opportunity, if you want to talk a little bit about that, I don't know if he can hear.
Yeah, I can.
How valuable mentorship needs to happen, especially in our community?
You know, we look at mentorship as I don't want nobody to tell me how to live my life. But the fact of the matter is, like, one of the things, and I don't know if I mentioned it yet, I'm running for city council for the next term. So one of the things I had to do, I had the mayor as a friend. So one of the things I had to do was go to him and let him mentor me in how to navigate the political climate. I'm not a politician, so I don't know how to do that. But we need to look at life as this. And I agree with him. So many people say they got a 5-year plan when it's really only a 5-minute plan. And so what we need to do is, I always tell people the people that I have in my circle are smarter than me. And I've ran Fortune 500 companies. And right now, me and my wife have our own financial business. And the biggest thing that we do is educate. And so from a standpoint of mentorship, we have to get people where we want to go and stop going to people where we are. And I do the same thing in the church. If I want to be this type of church, then I sit with those people. I sit with the people where I am. I sit with the people that, maybe aren't doing as well as we are. I'm seeing the whole process now. And so, like, there's this theory called the 7 mountains of influence. And it talks about how the church should be in business. Well, the only way me and my wife got in business was we allowed somebody to mentor us in how to run a successful business. If you want to be in government, you need to allow somebody to mentor you on how the government works. When it comes to the community, just the community at whole, learn what's going in, allow somebody who has their finger on the pulse of that community that they will mentor you in that. We have so many opportunities out there, but because we don't want to allow somebody to mentor us in that particular area, we lose. Like the gentleman that was just talking about the housing authority and the Section 8 program. What we do is we say, oh, well, I get this much money a month. My rent is only going to be this much, so I can spend that much. I had a guy tell me that's currently a client of mine. I asked him, I said, how do you prolong this longevity where your profit and loss, your profit is always higher? And he said, because I still collect the paycheck. He pays himself just as he was working for the company, and everything else he banks on it. And so every month I see his bank accounts going up. And that's what we need to do. When he told me that, I was blown away. And I was kind of embarrassed because I felt like I should have known that. But we need those people in our life to mentor us. In every area of life, you need a mentor. Every lawyer needs another lawyer. Every doctor needs a doctor. Every mental health psychiatrist, they need somebody to get mental health. And so as we walk down these paths and we have somebody to mentor us, not only do we wind up in a position where we learn something new and we're better able to handle that situation, but we're also now exposed to the mistakes that this person made, or the trials that they made, and the lessons that they got from that. And that's why mentorship is so important. I can tell you the mistakes that I made in my marriage. I can tell you the mistakes that I made as a child. I can tell you those mistakes, and you only get the benefit of that if you're able to sit down and mentor and be mentored in that area. Like I've heard some good stuff today. The pastor was talking about water. And I tell people now, don't be like me. I'm 57 and I'm going through all these different health things. Um, but I learned so much. You know, I stopped drinking sodas and I started drinking water that has no calories, no nothing in it, but it's healthy. And just by not drinking, by listening to somebody who said, I don't drink sodas anymore, I probably lost 50 pounds just by getting off soda. And that was because I had somebody to mentor me that spent the time to say, listen, get off the sodas, get off this, and get on water. And the uh, response to that is, I don't like water. Well, guess what? They have something called hint water, and it gives you just a hint of flavor. But guess what? It has nothing in it. And I can tell you, Pastor, I feel better by drinking this water. Then I do coffee because coffee, really, to be honest with you, and we were joking about it earlier, coffee really does nothing for me. I can drink a cup of coffee at 9 o'clock at night and go to sleep by 9:15. So, you know, the other thing that we have to do, the lesson that I get from that is that anything that I don't need in my life, you have to go ahead and push it off to the side. And now that I've gone through those processes and made those mistakes, I can tell people about that. I can help them. You know, one of my first books that I wrote was just teaching men how to walk in their divine calling. We're meant to lead. We're not meant to sit on the couch. If I want my wife to go to church, guess what? I gotta go too. I can't tell her I can't tell her the football game is on. And what most men do, I don't take too much time, but what most men do is and because I've done, you know, I'm a numbers guy, so I'm always looking at the numbers and the data. What most men do that have sons, their wives say, hey, let's go to church. And they say, okay, we'll see you after church. But guess what they've done? They've created a generational curse because they're going to tell their son to stay home and watch the game with me. And now you have a generation of men that aren't going to church because I didn't mentor my son how to get up and go to church every day. What I did was I mentored him. I mean, not every day, every Sunday, but what I did was I mentored him to say, hey, you don't have to go to church. Stay right here. Just like the guy was saying, they get on the program and they quit their job. What they should have done was take that money that the state or the housing authority or whoever was giving them and invest that money somewhere because they have it to invest. They just choose not to. And whoever's sitting next to them, talking to them, is telling them, oh, you can go put rims on your car. You can go buy a gold chain. But I say this to people, and I don't mean any disrespect. We fought to come out of slavery, but then we put ourselves back in slavery. And we do that because we don't have people around us to mentor us. Everybody in life needs a Jonathan. I tell people that all the time. Everybody in life needs Jonathan. If you don't know the story, Saul's son was Jonathan. Saul was trying to kill David, but Jonathan was attached to David. And so Jonathan would go to him and tell him what's going on. Every man needs a Jonathan. I have a Jonathan, and I'm not his Jonathan, but he's my Jonathan. And when I go through something that I can't deal with, guess who I call? My Jonathan. And I listen to what he has to say. He's very successful in every area of his life. He has about 7 kids, and they don't desire or want anything. And that's because somebody mentored him how to live life correctly, spiritually, financially, business wise, in all those areas. So we need those people. And the last thing I'm going to say on this question, because I really don't like taking up a whole lot of time, but the last thing we need to understand, it may be somebody that don't look like you that has the information that you need. It may be somebody that don't look like you. It may be somebody that don't vote like you. It may be somebody that don't have the same educational status that you do. It may be somebody that doesn't is not financially at your same position. They don't have the same faith. So we have to start looking outside the box if we want to get ourselves into the position that we see. If we're going to have a 5-year plan, we got to write it down and we got to stick to it.
One of the things that I was hanging out in this guy who owned the museums, the African American Museum. He owned a bunch of other stuff. He had a home up in the hills in Los Angeles. And his house was 10 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms, 2 kitchens, 2 stories, and the land was on 3-4 acres. And I'm in this house. It's a retreat. I'm like, this guy a drug dealer? Because back then that's all you think, And because he was black, so my thing, he's got to be the best drug dealer in the game. Like this is. So he comes into the house to greet and all that. I'm like, what kind of kilos you moving? He was like, what are you talking about? How to move kilos? I was like, this house is a mansion. Like this is. He said, this is just one of my homes. There's 20 people in this, and it's so much space. It's like 10,000 square foot home. I think it's 15 at the time, because I think he had it more. But massive house. 20 people, it felt like it was still like you could get lost in there. Now this is one of my homes, but no, I don't sell drugs. I have assets. I said, what is assets?
Right.
And then he goes, yeah, and I was like, well, how did you even? He goes, you have to diversify your income. I said, what? I didn't even know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
So I asked him just to mentor me just for a few minutes, because I needed to understand, how does this person looks like me, can walk with his head high, confident about who he is, what he's about, and have no problem sharing information.
Mm-hmm.
He's not worried about me taking anything from him.
Come on.
Right. Now, and not worried about the cops. Right? And I'm
Right.
like, wow. So he taught me about diversifying income. But he was the only black man that I can say, when it came to economics, gave me an education. 95% of the people that taught me about economics were white.
Right.
And there were people who accidentally taught me, because when we walk into a space, they think we're ignorant.
Right.
They don't know, I play dumb. Because they just tell you all the information. Oh, yeah, and that's how I learned about full life insurance. That's how Scott bought his first property. He used full life insurance. He used life as a bank. He was talking to me. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm playing dumb. Oh, really, really? What? I called my brothers and my cousin. Hey, look, we got a lick. And so anyway, we have to share information, be open to listening to information, but also you have to learn from people who have been successful.
Right.
And learn that it's okay, doesn't matter what gender, race, you're going to be around people different from you. And language is not the barrier. It's the ability to listen. Doesn't matter what they speak. I've been in different parts of the world. I travel the country. I speak to people in different countries, and they got all kind of ideas, right? So I find a way to listen, to understand. So anyway, I only bring this up because mentorship is the key to how I got successful.
That's right.
Everything from publishing my first book, being a professor. I I was mentored in everything I do to this day.
You know, I want to say that this is so funny because when I started writing books, it's the funniest thing. I didn't know how to start writing, and I definitely didn't know what was I going to do when I finished it. And the guy that mentored me was somebody that I really didn't care for. He wasn't my cup of tea, but because I needed something from him, all the pettiness and all that stuff I had to put aside to get what I needed. And I think that every relationship, there's a give and take. You're going to give me something, and I'm going to get something from you. I mean, you're going to get something from me because we've all walked in different parts of life. You know, I can tell somebody now how to use their income tax versus versus when I first learned about income tax and thought, you know, January a month that I could live like outside of my means instead of taking that money and investing it, getting caught up on some of the stuff that's holding me back from doing other things. So mentorship is super important to me. It's super important to me. I tell everybody to get you a mentor. You know, get you a, whatever business, government, education. You say you somebody mentored you and told you how to become a professor. We need mentorships in every area of our life. And I can't stress this, and I know I got some people from our ministry watching. I can't mentor everybody because there's some things that I don't know. But I can mentor you in what I know. And it's a you can mentor me. It's an even trade because like the gentleman that's the professor, I really want to talk to him because you can help me, sir. You can definitely help me.
Yeah, like again, and the way I became a professor was an accident. I was
Mm.
about to drop out of school
Mm.
because I thought I need to go back into the workforce. You know how many students go to, how many black men you see in college? I celebrate when I see a black or brown. Just, oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
coming to school? I might see, like this semester, I had 130 students, right? Out of 130 students, I had 3 black students.
Wow.
None of them
Jesus.
were male.
Mm.
So I say all that to say what?
Wow.
I can predict the outcome of where we're going in terms of, nah, man, I got to stop myself, but I can't. All right, so look, the workforce shifted. What do I mean by that? In the 60s, we were a workforce with hands. We could build things, top to bottom. The workforce shifted, but the education didn't shift. So our educational system is 30, 40 years behind.
Hmm.
So let me just be clear about that. And I'm an educator. I know this for a fact. I look at the curriculum, I'm like, we need to update the curriculum. So that's one.
Yeah.
That's one. The second thing is, if you're not getting into a trade that's going to be around for the next 20, 15 years, what are you doing? Right? Because I got students who are graduating, and I lie sometimes to them. Sorry that I'm in the church, but because I feel bad telling them the truth. You spent 4 or 6 years coming to school for a career that won't exist 3 years from now. And you spent all this money because you don't have a mentor. You don't have someone guiding you through this process, helping you navigate the future. One of the things we're working with government, we get to tour the future. I saw the robots. I saw the AI. I walked into restaurants, no cashier, no chef, pure machines. I walk into stores, no human, besides security. And that's about to be replaced because they got robots that can do security now. If you go to certain hospitals.
Hmm.
The workforce is shifting. So if you're not trying to get an education that's going to give you longevity or make an investment for longevity, our men are done. Because you're talking about you got to do 4 or 5 years. just to get a college degree, another 2-3 years just to start to establish a career. We're talking about a 10-year run. And if you're not there now, with the technology that's coming out right now, it's a wrap. So that's why I tell people, that's why I got that student who graduated to do art therapy. Because a lot of therapists are same old, sit on my couch, FaceTime. People are gonna wanna move around because movement is medicine. So let me paint and talk to you and talk about and then I can leave with this painting and hang it up in my living room, right? So innovation is still available. Creativity is still available. But I say all that to say that the future is scary. It's not that they can go to college, it's what they're going to college for. It's not that they get a trade, what they're getting a trade in, right? And then who you hanging out with?
Whew, man.
Social capital.
Come on.
Social capital, number one. I got my son who got skipped. He got skipped a grade. I'm already, when he goes to high school, he's going to get skipped to high school, go to college. I already got the formula. I've helped kids go to Harvard, you name them. I got kids, I send them around if they have the maturity and the capacity, right? Now, why do I bring that up? I had one student, smart student, 16. I was about to get them right into college. Parents said, no, they can't go to college. They're not mature enough. What do you mean they're not mature enough? They got the grades, they got the intelligence, no, I don't need that. So what happened was this. The parent was saying, well, I need them to be around their age group so they can have the social. I said, did you see their age group? They on their phones. They can't help your kid be successful.
Xbox.
There you go. Video gaming and other. You better get rid of that. Someone told me, well, if your son's going to be attending college when he's 13, how's that going to? He don't need to go to prom. What is prom going to bring him? Right? I'm like, look at the social capacity that we're talking about. We need to change that. We need to elevate our communities, how we speak to each other, how we embrace each other, how we love each other, how we educate each other, how we feed it. We need to change that whole dynamic. And I'm saying that because if I'm in the college right now, and I'm telling you, I already see it. You think it's bad now. 5-7 years from now, what we talking about? How many funerals? You talking about funerals? Look at the hospital bills. Our taxes are going to take care of that because someone has to pay that. Homelessness. We see the homelessness now. You talking about Section 8? They're talking about cutting Section 8? Come on now. This is a whole new society that we're about to be seeing in the future. So we need to have a long-term plan with an investment strategy that allows our community to grow, our churches to grow, and people don't have to worry about money. They can just live, right? And then build that legacy. So anyway, I'll just stop.
I want to jump on that real quick. And I really am here to help who's ever listening. I went through a season where I kept running into this one older man. And at that time, I was doing a radio show on Saturday morning. And I began to see him there. And so finally, I had to ask him, I said, how long have you been working for that company? Because I see you everywhere. He says, I don't work for the company. I own the company. And so I asked him, I said, I was young then. So I asked him, I said, why would you choose to be owning funeral homes? He said, one thing for sure, everybody got to be born and everybody got to die. And not only do I own this funeral home, I own 10 more. And when I come on the radio station, I talk about my business and I talk about how I'm there to help the community. I'm on the radio to talk about, hey, if you can't afford this, let me give you a payment plan. Let me show you how to do this. I don't want to mention their name because I got another black-owned funeral home up here, and I don't want them to think I'm advertising nobody. But most of us, again, we think about, I don't want to go in a funeral home. I more or less run it, but this guy has about 10 or 12 funeral homes. And he did it. Somebody told him, don't be scared of it. You got to change. You got to think about business. And if we think about business and we mentor people on business, just imagine what our communities could be like. That one day would be us. And then we'll be able to sustain uh, the lifestyle that we want to live. You know, me and my wife, we do a lot of prison ministry. Phone with this guy who was currently in federal prison. And this guy has more investments, more stocks that I've ever heard of anybody having. He went from a $2.50 investment in a stock to, I think it was 5 years, at $300,000. And currently, when he gets out, he's probably going to be in the $1 million range. But it's because somebody taught him in prison, who was in there because he was doing insider trading and all that stuff. But he listened to him, and he learned. He got what he needed from it. It's kind of like, you know, eat the meat, throw away the bone kind of thing. And because he didn't look at his situation, at the guy's situation, but looked at his knowledge, he was able to successfully grow this thing. And what I tell people all the time is stop looking at the messenger. There's mentors everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, there's a mentor. And so if I had anything else to say, and this will probably be my last comment, look for your mentor wherever you are. Don't worry about what color they are, what ethnicity they are, how much money they got. Whatever. You know, you talk about homelessness, you see the best, some of the greatest minds on how to do stuff sitting on the side of the curb, homeless. And so we have to look past that, and we really have to reach out, not only to each other, but reach out to other people, like I said, that don't look like us, and get the knowledge that they have.
Amen. Amen. A lot of knowledge to store up. On that note, we're going to close this men's meeting. And I do want to say mentorship is very important in all aspects of your life. And one of the things, because I'm in the working world right now as an older gentleman, the young generation, they want a job, but they don't want to work.
Oh, God, please.
They don't want to work. So the future is kind of scary. Yes. Oh, okay. You want to pray us out?
Heavenly Father, God, we just want to thank you. Thank you for your spirit, God. Thank you for your joy. Thank you for your mercy and grace. God, thank you for all of the things that we learned today, God. God, thank you for waking us up this morning, God. Thank you for the early morning exercise, God, with Minister Thornton, God. Thank you for the fellowship in the fellowship hall, God, this morning, God. Thank you for our teachers, Heavenly Father, all those that, God, broke bread with us today, God. God, we thank you for our marriages are going to get better, God. Our mentoring is going to get better, God. Oh, God. Our mental health, God. We're going to be more aware of what's going on around us, God. We're going to, God, notice the homeless more and pray for them more, God, in the name of Jesus, Lord. God, and we're going to know and see that there is a move, God, that we can grasp a hold of, God. We can pray, God, and we can seek different ways, God, to increase the body of Christ, God, even through grant writing, Heavenly Father. God, just open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing, God. God, just help us to move mightily, Heavenly Father. We've got the word now. God, help us to answer, allow it to be answered, God. God, thank you for Pastor Salter bringing health, God, in the name of Jesus, Lord. Thank you, God, because now we know, God, that there's a way that we can live longer, God. Help us to look out for the way that we eat, God. Help us to eat better, God. Help us to drink more water, God, and help us to watch our weight. God, help us to do all the things that will make us successful men of God, Heavenly Father. And God, we thank you so much for everything that you've done for us, God. We love you. We give you all the glory and all the praise, God, for each man and each family that was represented here today, God. We thank you for the children, Heavenly Father, in our families, God. We thank you that we're leaders and going to be stronger leaders, God, because of this time that we've shared with you today, God. God, we thank you that, oh God, that everything going forth is going to be better. And God, tomorrow, God, on tomorrow, God, oh God, I pray that you just would bless us, God, as we bring into the culmination of this men's meeting, Heavenly Father, that the speaker, God, even now will be anointed, God, that the ground will be broken and that we can hear your word, apply your word, and live by your word. In Jesus' name, we thank you and give you all the glory, honor, and praise. Amen and amen.
Amen. Amen. I don't know what to do with them.